The release of Pokemon Champions has been one of the most toxic and negative times in the entire franchise. Whether it's competitive players complaining that their favorite item is gone, or casuals wondering why their $500 console can't run it higher than 30 FPS, it seems like everyone is upset. And I get it. Playing competitive Pokemon has always been extremely hard to get into, but now with Champions, anyone can pick it up and play one of the most fun competitive games of all time. But with all the potential in the world to succeed, also comes the pressure of failing. Personally, I'm pretty new to this side of Pokemon. I have some understanding of what VGC and competitive Pokemon is like, but honestly, I'm nowhere near a professional. But this is where Pokemon Champions has lit a fire in me. I want to win a real Pokemon VGC tournament one day, and I plan on using Champions to do it. After playing basically every Pokemon game with the sole purpose of forming my own opinion about them, I won't let the negative community influence me so easily. So today, you're gonna see my first look into Pokemon Champions to see how, or if it works, and how fun it is to play, but most of all, is it actually good? When you start up the game, you get to pick your name and your character, and then you get a really nice cutscene introducing this new world of battling, and then, what the heck? I'm sorry, but this transition from a beautiful cutscene to perhaps the choppiest gameplay I've ever seen is funny, I guess? Well, hopefully there isn't too much of this, and we could just get into the main game. Okay, well, not a great first impression, but we're in the home screen, so we can finally start playing the game. Also, I really don't like this girl. Please stop looking at me. So there is quite a bit to unpack in this menu. First of all, I want to collect my free Dragonite and these vouchers here that allow us to pull characters for us to fight with. It sounds like a gacha game, but it's kind of not. We'll get to it. We got a pretty mid team from the tutorial, and I definitely want to upgrade. Fortunately for us, Champions gives us a lot of new ways to get new guys. And by a lot, I mean you could just bring any Pokemon you already have in the other games to your box here through Pokemon Home. I was almost impressed by this because Champions is technically a gacha game, as we'll get into a second, but it's also not. Well, I guess they just wanted to make it easy for people who actually compete to get their Pokemon here, since this is the main format for competitive Pokemon now, so I guess that is the bare minimum. Anyway, the other method to get Pokemon is this gacha mechanic I keep talking about. So on this screen, you can roll for 10 new Pokemon to recruit, and you can recruit one of them permanently using a currency called VP or these vouchers. Or you could just recruit them for a week for free. I will say this is probably the least gacha out there, since you'll probably get something decent on every roll, and actually later you'll be able to get vouchers that can alter the likeliness of getting a certain type of Pokemon, which is great too. For most people who own any of the modern Pokemon games, you're probably not going to need this much. I would say even owning just the Legends games could get you far enough in the competitive aspects. In fact, that's what we're going to do to build most of our team. Going into this, I had some sort of understanding of good teams to run. In fact, I had 2 Pokemon from my previous playthrough that I figured would be great in Champions. My shiny Sneasler and my Hisuian Arcanine. However, you need 6 Pokemon to bring into doubles, and we only have 2. So I ended up filling the rest of my team with some of the free Pokemon I got from recruiting. Don't worry though, I am going to bring over a bunch of new Pokemon from the games I get, and well, whatever I stumble upon in these recruiting summon things. Regardless, the point of the video isn't necessarily my own competitive skill, maybe that's for another day, but instead how the game feels to play. But before we can go into a game, I think it's only right to discuss training your Pokemon first. In Champions, training is the easiest it's ever been. You can raise and lower the stat distribution, change your nature, ability, moves, just with a few button presses. Of course though, you are limited to how many changes you can make by the in-game currency VP. This currency can get you a ton of things from the store, and by a ton, I mean just a handful of held items, since this game really doesn't have much. It'll get more. I know this is a heavily controversial aspect of the release, but I truthfully do not mind the lack of items if it means keeping things simple and expanding it later when people get a better understanding of the game. There's also that issue of a lack of every Pokemon being here, which again, I don't think is a particularly new issue, since Pokemon regulations have always restricted and dictated which Pokemon people could use. At the end of the day, this game is all about the competitive side of Pokemon, so for a new player like me, the limited pool of both Pokemon and items made things a lot easier to understand. Realistically, items like the Life Orb or Assault Vest were almost never major aspects of the mainline games, you know, like the story mode, I guess. Anyway, I'm not saying that learning how items work is super hard, but it can be for some. Anyway, when it comes to training, you do have to be kind of smart about using your VP, or else you'll run out pretty fast. If I had any advice for people people here, make sure you do some research on Pokemon that are competitively not only viable, but also diverse. Incineroar, for example, is one of, if not the best Pokemon in the game, because its utility is helpful in basically every single scenario, meaning it can be used on most teams. While I haven't gotten through Scarlet and Violet just yet, I ended up getting my hands on an Incineroar through recruiting, which is pretty lucky. But as for where to get information on how to build your guys, I recommend watching professional players who are also content creators such as Wolfie or Aaron Zhang. I pretty much got my main team I use now from Aaron and all of my VGC basics from Wolfie, so shout out to them. Speaking of the gameplay, yeah, this game is sweaty. If you thought this game would be a casual introduction to VGC, well, I don't know. At least if you're playing ranked, this game is full of people who play the meta even in the lowest ranks. There's nothing wrong about playing the meta, trust me, I'm literally the main culprit of that, but I just want you to know what you're getting into here. Fortunately, VGC is actually not that hard to learn here due to the limited aspects of it like I said earlier. If you compare it to Showdown, I think this is so much more forgiving. No shade to Showdown though, just saying Champions is a bit easier. My first games of Champions consisted of both absolute destruction of my enemies and brutal losses, and I soon learned this was only the beginning. One game I'll literally play against some 10-year-old who doesn't know what he's doing, and the next it'll feel like I'm going up against Wolfie himself. The problem is that you'll be facing meta so much, and then randomly you'll play against a full monotype team or something that of course you have no counter to. Then obviously you have to take into account things like RNG and percentage chances for things happening, and well, you really do have to make sure not to get tilted. The rank system goes from Pokeball tier to Champion, and there are a smaller number of tiers in each rank, and if you go on a win streak, you'll end up getting more progression, which I found very rewarding. If we're being real though, rank doesn't mean that much. These are all one set games, so it's super possible to be surprised by a random off-meta team and lose. Even if you're actually better than someone, what I learned is to just always understand your team's weaknesses, but never completely change your team because of a one-off game. Things happen, and instead of always blaming your team, just try to understand what were the best moves on the table. And genuinely, there are situations where you could win or lose because of luck. This isn't chess or anything. There are chances of moves happening and moves of not happening. It's all about playing whatever you think is the best move. But it's kind of crazy though, around the highest ranks in the game, I started to experience a lot of games that I lost because of techniques I have never seen before. Like, the whole game will be going great, and then suddenly the opponent will send out a Pokemon with a move that works in a particular situation that just so happened to be my game. Even though I get pretty annoyed about this, I understand that as long as I learn from this mistake and never let it happen again, at least without me knowing, I will rapidly improve. Who knows, maybe one day I'll try to compete in person as well. But after understanding this, I think I was really able to enjoy and have fun with Champions. Oh, and I guess I should mention that there are ranked single battles as well, but I don't really enjoy them as much compared to doubles. It does kind of suck though that there aren't 6v6 double battles because I know a lot of people wanted them. A really common way to enjoy Pokemon battling is random 6v6 on Showdown, so that's a bit unfortunate that it isn't here. There's also casual modes for both singles and doubles, which might be helpful for trying out new teams, or just people who just want a casual experience. Finally, there seems to be a tournament section for battling, although I haven't participated myself, and the game only had just come out at this point, so there isn't much going on here. Perhaps this section will be used for official online tournaments where you can get points to qualify for Worlds, I don't know. But of course, besides the battling, there are a few more parts of Champions I haven't mentioned yet. In the shop, besides getting held items, you can get Mega Stones, which are the main mechanic of Champions at the start. However, it's kind of obvious Terastallizing, Z-moves, Gigantamaxing, and whatever the new Gen 10 mechanic will be are probably on the way eventually too. You can kind of tell because of the wristband your character wears. It's like spinning and there's only the Mega Evolution symbol, but there's clearly space for more. You can also buy clothes and other things for your character. In fact, they even have battle songs from all the mainline Pokemon games, which is super fun. I just put it on random and I enjoy whatever music comes on. They do seem a little expensive, but since you can get VP infinitely from winning games, progressing the battle pass, getting achievements, and completing quests, I'm not worried about not having enough. But you know what sucks? The fact that you can't change your gender or skin color. I don't know why they don't let you do this. Luckily, the characters are pretty androgynous, so you can design them however you like, but still, the skin color not being able to be changed is annoying. Anyway, I should mention that VP is not purchasable with real money, which is shocking because that's usually a no-brainer for a game like this that's free. So for the first time ever, is the Pokemon Company not greedy? Well, there is technically the Battle Pass and the starter pack you can buy, but I don't really think there's a reason for you to get this if you have any modern Pokemon game at all, especially Legends ZA. I mean, maybe you can get some cool cosmetics here, but do we really care about that? Alright, now originally I wasn't going to do this and I was going to keep the video completely review based, but then I thought, you know what, I should take you guys through my mindset while I'm playing a competitive game. I mean, this is pretty much all you'll be doing the entire game, so I think it's only right that I include this in the video. So I just picked one of my games that I recorded on my journey, and you can let me know how I did. Alright, so in the Pokemon Select screen, you get to see yours and your opponent's 6 Pokemon. However, you can bring 4 only, so you have to make sure you can cover whatever they bring. In this case, I saw that they had a Kingambit, which is buffed if we send out Incineroar first, so I decided to have my front 2 be Charizard and Sneasler. I don't think this is necessarily the best way to start, but it seemed okay to me since Sneasler gets a speed boost when its stats are lowered, and I thought he would send out Incineroar first, honestly. However, he sent Sneasler first, which was kind of annoying because we most likely would be dealing with a speed tie fake out scenario, and basically this just means that since our Sneaslers might both have the same speed stat and both want to use fake it on each other, it will be up to fate to see who goes first. As for my Charizard, I wanted him to be safe against the potential of a fake out and a sucker punch from Kingambit. Now while we did lose the speed tie, we did prevent Charizard from any harm. Now I wanted to get Sneasler out of here and get Venusaur in the sun from Mega Charizard Y. Their Sneasler ended up protecting, but I knew one Heat Wave would knock out the Kingambit. The only issue is that Kingambit would definitely get a sucker punch off on Charizard, and indeed it did. But hey, at least we can knock it out and set up for our Venusaur going crazy. Knowing that Sneasler already protected, we have a 100% free chance at sleeping the left slot. Of course, we have to rely on the 70% chance of Sleep Powder hitting, but it's usually worth it. Then I decided to swap in Incineroar to lower Garchomp's attack, but then I completely forgot about Sneasler's Unburden ability on their team, so I accidentally made it go first and took a lot of damage from it on Venusaur. Thankfully, we didn't get a status condition and got to put Sneasler to sleep. This could have easily ruined our game here, but we got a little lucky. For now, I had a few options of what to do, but I decided to Leaf Storm the Garchomp because I knew I was faster, and then I would fake out the Garchomp as well to guarantee the knockout. This also forces out the sleeping Sneasler, which had its sleep count reset when it swapped out. With his last 2 Pokemon being a damaged Charizard due to the Solar Power ability hurting it, and a sleeping Sneasler, he was in a horrible spot. I probably could have Sleep Powdered Charizard here, but I was scared it might miss, so I just protected instead. I also Parting Shotted the Charizard in order to seal the game with it doing tiny amounts of damage. Now, I was pretty sure that he would protect and hope for a turn 2 wake up from the Sneasler. In order to prevent even that from happening while still covering the potential for not protecting on the Charizard, I Sleep Powder Charizard and fake outed on the Sneasler. With the sun now gone though, I protected our Venusaur since it would be slow, and I used Rock Tomb on Charizard, knocking it out, while the other Sneasler wasted a Dire Claw on Venusaur. At this point, all he could do was knock out my Venusaur as I used Dire Claw on him, and it paralyzed him. I mean, this guy is just very unlucky with these status effects. And of course, we finished the game easily since it could not move due to paralysis. And yeah, there's an example of a 4-0 victory. I swear, I just picked a random game out of all my recordings. I would be lying if I said that this was how it goes in every battle though. Definitely not how it goes in every battle. But I mean, as you can see, there is a lot of luck and hoping that goes into this game. But at the same time, you have to play around that. And I guess we did get kind of lucky that his team didn't have another weather setter, which is usually my biggest weakness. Now that we've gone over pretty much everything here, I want to sum up my thoughts, and let me tell you, I have a lot to say, both positive and negative. Hopefully this video has given you a decent picture of what this game has to offer, and if you think so, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe since it's free and it lets me know these videos are actually good. Also, wouldn't it be nice to say that you were one of my first 10,000 subscribers? Well anyway, I think Champions is definitely one of the most interesting releases Pokemon has ever done. Honestly, this is really disappointing and I can't lie about that. Seeing from how great it seemed in the trailer to this graphical and technical abomination that it released as really makes me sad. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it has to do with it eventually coming to mobile, but I don't know if there's an excuse for this. Funnily enough, the graphics aren't even the most broken parts of Champions. One of the main battle mechanics right now is Mega Evolution. Actually, if you aren't using Mega Evolution in some way, you're probably gonna struggle. So please listen close to when I ask this. Why is the order of Mega Evolution completely random? It's supposed to be decided by speed, but due to a bug, this isn't working in game. But the issue is, this can literally be a win or loss situation. We are in a meta of weather wars. Mega Charizard, Mega Frostlass, Mega Tyranitar, these are all insanely popular Pokemon in this meta, and so often you have to play around a bug to win the game. This needs to be fixed before Worlds because it fundamentally ruins the decision making of VGC. But even outside of gameplay, there is a game-breaking issue with champions. Random disconnections. I don't know if I'm the only one who's experienced this, I don't think so, but my internet is perfectly fine, and I can't count how many times that I've disconnected in the Pokemon Select screen, but come back and I've been forced to use my top 4 Pokemon. So it's not even a real disconnect, it just reloads the game and puts you back in with no issue. Not to mention I've had people leave the game by turning off their Switch, but it glitches and I get a loss for it? Look, I don't know if I would say that this game should have been delayed, since I truly am having fun with it, but come on. The issues with it are constantly present and remind you of Pokemon's incapability to put out a complete game on release anymore. Regardless of these issues, there is one thing I do want to bring up that is plaguing the community right now: redirecting the negativity toward the Pokemon Company to normal people enjoying the game. I cannot tell you how many losers I've seen on the internet bashing my fellow creators who are so nice, and even just normal commenters about liking the game. God forbid you enjoy anything in this Pokemon space. You get hit with people saying you're blindly defending Game Freak. Bro, I just like having fun on games, and I simply want to form my own opinion on whether I like them or not. And it's not even so black and white either. I've been playing every single Pokemon game in existence to combat this blind opinion culture and hate forming. Most of the time, people bringing down others don't even play the games themselves though, so I don't pay too much mind to it. That being said, can I really call Pokemon Champions good? I mean, one day I think it'll be a truly amazing game, but right now, I'm hesitant to call it a good release by any means. Remember, fun does not equal good all the time. I can have fun on Champions because VGC itself is fun, and it's cool having a dedicated and official platform for it. But is it a good game right now? Probably not. Fortunately, they did acknowledge some of the bugs and issues with the game, so it's clear they must have been a little rushed in this release window and were looking for things to fix because they knew this would happen, and so things will probably improve. If not, well, I guess that's just par for the course in the Pokemon world. Anyway, if you like this video, drop a like and check out my channel memberships where I'll have exclusive videos and early releases of them as well, along with a bunch of other stuff. I know going forward, I definitely want to make a lot more Champions videos and stuff like that, so just let me know if you like this. Thanks for watching.